Welcome. In this short video, we'll look at sprint planning and one important shift in how we think about it. Sprint planning is not about filling the sprint with as much work as possible. It's about creating shared direction, understanding why the sprint is valuable, choosing the right work, and creating enough of a plan to get started. Let's take a look.
Sprint planning starts the sprint. The team comes into the event with an ordered product backlog, knowledge about the product, and what they've learned from previous sprints. Together, they turn that into direction for the sprint ahead. They establish a sprint goal, select the product backlog items that support it, and create an initial plan for the work. That plan doesn't need to predict everything that will happen. It needs to give the team a clear purpose and enough direction to start. Then, throughout the sprint, the team learns and adapts. But sprint planning can easily fall into a trap. We start treating it as a capacity-filling exercise. How many items can we fit? We usually deliver 20 points. There's still some capacity. Can we add one more? The result can look great on the board. Everyone has work, and the sprint is full. But we may have lost the most important question: what are we actually trying to achieve? A full sprint backlog is not the goal. A valuable sprint is. So instead of starting with how much work we can fit, start with why. Why is this sprint valuable? That conversation leads to the sprint goal. A good sprint goal gives the team a shared purpose and a direction for their decisions. For example, compare these two statements: complete the booking form, payment, and confirmation email. That describes work. Now compare it with enable customers to complete and confirm their first online booking. That describes an outcome. And that distinction matters. When circumstances change during the sprint, the team can change the plan while still working toward the same goal. Start with the value you want to create, not the list of work you want to complete. Once we understand why the sprint matters, we can ask the second question: what can we realistically do this sprint? Now we look at the product backlog and choose the work that best supports our direction. We consider what's most important: what the team has delivered in previous sprints, who is available, dependencies, uncertainty, and what it will take to meet the definition of done. Historical velocity can help us forecast. Capacity can help us understand our limits, but neither should become a target that we have to fill. Sometimes the best sprint contains less work than we theoretically have capacity for. The question isn't, can we squeeze in one more item? It's, does this work help us achieve the sprint goal? And is it realistic? Now we have a direction and we've selected the work. The third question is, how will we get started? The developers look at the selected product backlog items and create an initial plan for turning them into a done increment. They might identify where to start, what needs to happen first, where people need to collaborate, and where there are important dependencies or uncertainties. But there's an important balance here. Sprint planning is not about predicting every task for the entire sprint. We know that we will learn as we work, so the aim is to create a plan that is actionable enough to start and flexible enough to change. Plan enough to start, adapt as you learn. And there's one more important part of sprint planning. The plan is created together. The product owner brings knowledge about the product, value, priorities, and the product backlog. The developers bring knowledge about the work, the technology, what is realistic, and how the increment can be created. Together, the Scrum team collaborates on the sprint goal. This isn't a handover where one person arrives with a finished plan and distributes work. It's a conversation. Different perspectives come together to create one shared direction. When sprint planning ends, the team should understand why the sprint matters, what they intend to accomplish, and how they plan to begin. The plan belongs to the team. So let's bring it all together. Good sprint planning can be built around three simple questions. Why is this sprint valuable? That gives us our sprint goal. What can we realistically do this sprint? That helps us select the work for our sprint backlog. And how will we get it done? That gives us an actionable initial plan. Sprint planning is not about filling every available space with work. It is about creating a valuable sprint that the team understands and believes in. Start with value, choose work with purpose, create the plan together. And remember, sprint planning creates direction, not certainty.